Our first talk will be about the Ansible integration into Foreman and will be held by Ondrej Erz from Red Hat. Enjoy.
Hi. I will be giving you a talk about Foreman on Ansible. And as we have an hour for it, I would like to be a bit interactive. So if you have any questions, please ask during the talk. Otherwise, I don't have so much of content, so you will have to go for a coffee too soon. About me, I'm a software engineer at Red Hat for 9 months now. I'm working on Foreman project full-time. Here is my GitHub if you want to follow me. I'm not into any other social media, so you won't find me anywhere else. Well, at least not something interesting. So, what's Ansible integration in Foreman? Foreman integrates with Ansible through plugin, as I hope all of you know. Or let's do a quiz. How many of you use Foreman with Puppet only? Okay. And how many of you use Ansible already? Okay, half, let's say. And how many of you are familiar with Ansible at least? Have you hacked a bit around Ansible? Okay, quite a lot of people. So Ansible integrates through a plugin to Foreman, and this plugin started as a separate plugin just for Ansible, but during the process we realized that it does basically the same thing as remote execution. So now it's heavily depends on remote execution. So it's just implementation of remote execution. Now you can't use Ansible at all without remote execution. And here is how you install it. That's just the installer way. If you want to get hacky, you would need to install the gem, and for full installation, you would want to have the callback, which looks kind of like let's take a look. We need to whitelist callback and configure the URL of our Foreman. And here you have to add some certificates, because I don't use the certificates at all. I don't use SSL on my development configuration. I need to put dummy files for not break, because the callback reads those files but never uses them. So kind of hacky, but hey, you are not using SSL in your production environments, right? So we got Ansible installed on top of remote execution. And first thing we need to do is bring up some hosts. Because what's the main advantage of having Foreman with Ansible is that Foreman gives us the inventory, right? Because everyone uses Foreman for inventory because Foreman is great for having it like an inventory and all the facts in Foreman. So you want to bring up those hosts into Foreman, and if you haven't provisioned them through Foreman, which may be a case for some of you, but if you do, it's quite simple. Foreman already knows about your hosts. Nothing to do there. If you didn't, you use the callback. What the callback does, it just sends the facts from the Ansible run, and from those facts, if the host doesn't exist, it got registered. So, okay, first, I have here my inventory for Ansible. I have the configuration in line because it's easiest. So I have this demo1 host, and we can see it's not here. Right, I got only one host here. Ah, yeah, right, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying so, but it does nothing. Yeah, right. Wrong keyboard. Is better? So, we have this inventory, and we need some playbook to run. And I have this, use the local group from that inventory, and just say hello to the host. And by default, it will collect the facts from the hosts, and it will send them to Foreman through the callback. So let's hope. Okay. Now we should see the host. All right, sorry. That's kind of bad because we are registering the host always in the default organization. So if that happens to you, you have to fix the organization after the host registers. Unfortunately, but after that, host is here. Okay, so we have our inventory. If you want more hosts, you would just list them in the inventory file. And what Foreman integrates from Ansible the most is roles. We heavily depend on roles. I will show you how we are doing this, but first let's consider just this use case. We have some Foreman roles. And we want to assign those roles on some hosts. We can do that through host groups, but still the Foreman is host-centered, right? And we integrated Ansible in such a way, even though Ansible is not meant to work like that, but in Foreman it does, so be aware of that. All right, so how do we bring those roles in? It's quite easy. Configure roles. I got them imported already. Okay. I will delete one of those roles. Let's say we don't need Docker. And now, if we import, again, we see that the role have been removed. So you are managing your roles on the proxy side, Foreman proxy side, and you have to import them when they change. That's only way how you can do that. If you want to have them in sync. Yeah. Well, of course, you can collect the roles through Git on side of the smart proxy, but you still have to refresh them. You can automate that through the API calls, but that's the only thing you can do. And actually, you have the kind of automation here already. If you would like to, I'm going a bit in front of myself, but Ansible Roles installation category of job invocation, and you can install them from Git, and it will run against the smart proxy, and it will install the roles from the Git. Okay. So we have the roles now in Foreman. We know about our roles. So let's assign some roles to this host, right? And I would like to promote this host to smart proxy. You can obviously install the smart proxy through installer, but we are integrating with Ansible, right? So I would like to deploy a smart proxy on this host through Ansible. So I have my roles here, and I will assign the needed ones to the host. This, you can't see that now. Is it still okay? Still readable? Okay. There is one issue here. They are alphabetically ordered, the roles. So if one role depends on the other, it doesn't need to work out of the box. We will see how to go over it in a minute. Okay, so I assign those roles, but there is nothing automatic now. If you are provisioning the host, the roles will be run automatically when the host is built. But if you are assigning the roles afterwards manually, you have to run remote job, or you can directly run assign roles. And we can see the task. Here it collected the facts, and it's running our first Ansible on the host. This might take a while because it's on my local host and it's installing packages from YAM. So let's take a look. What if we need the order of the roles, and what if we need something completely different than just assigning roles, and we want to get hacky around Ansible and what we want to run. So we can go to job templates, and the easiest is to clone the run playbook or assign roles. Okay, yeah, run playbook, and we can clone that. Yeah, right. No. Okay, the run playbook is just dummy job invocation that you can specify the playbook on every run, but that's not very useful, right? So I don't see, whatever. I will clone this one. And here we can specify our playbook, but we have the templating engine of Foreman on our hands, so we can do out of stuff. We have all the variables and facts from the host available, so we can do all the stuff Ruby allows us, and it's just plain ERB template, which gets rendered for every host. So that's the advantage of not running the Ansible in the Ansible way, but in the Foreman way, that we can render the playbooks on the host basis. I'm giving this just the ordered roles which I need to run in order to install my proxy. So I can do it here, or I can just say these are the prerequisites, and I had to delete the Ansible. Well, Ansible Roles, I don't see them. I don't know where they went. Okay. Well, it's Ansible. It should be a first, right? No. I had to delete them. Okay. So you can have just 2 roles which are required for every host. So you will specify those in here, and the rest you will specify dynamically from the host, but I wouldn't like to do that in here. But you would copy it over from the, because it's kind of tricky, because you need to get all those spaces all right, and so I will just so you'll just go through all the roles. And we would render them here. But we need to keep these spaces. So I will do it like this. Okay. So you would have these two roles in front of the host roles always in place. So we would have, we would be sure that we have the Apple repository in our hosts and the Foreman repositories. And then we can dynamically assign other roles. This is really powerful because we can do whatever in here, but as I said, it's rendered per host. So it's a bit less scalable than if we would use the Ansible directly, right? Because there is no per host execution. Okay, I will go back to the static example because mine wouldn't work. And we can go to our host. Okay, let's see if the task succeeded or not. Oh, nice. Nice. Okay, so we should have an host, demo1, ready to be the smart proxy. Let's SSH to the host. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the proxy is here. Okay, we don't have colors. So we have this because I put it as a default, so I cheated. But how to define variables in the playbooks? How to define those in Foreman? because we want to change the default variables from the playbooks, right? Because as you know or not, but Ansible has the variables, and we would import them from the proxy as well. I don't have these roles because it would bloat my output. And I can go Foreman proxy host, and I can redefine this variable. I can do the same in the playbook, and I can use the fact because I can get the Foreman URL from there, but maybe I want to choose a different one, or I would like to be more verbose about my Foreman URL. So I'm using this variable, and I will override it here. What I can do next, I can override this variable per host. This wouldn't be so useful because I have just one Foreman, right? But I can, for example, override for the Foreman repositories. I can override the version of the repository which gets installed. So in few days, hopefully, I would put 124. But now I will put 120.23 as a default. And I can go to the host or host group, whatever you prefer. But I have just 2 hosts, so I don't need to go through host groups. But you can do that as well. And I would say, okay, this one is actually my testing host. So I will. Okay. I will override this value to latest for this host, and it will still it will install latest repositories on this host through Ansible. So I will have the testing proxy on this host, which will get refreshed through Ansible run roles. And I can have the other one, which would be my production proxy. And I can schedule my created job in here to see how to run those job templates. I have it in category Ansible playbook. And Ansible install Foreman proxy, that's the playbook we just defined. And I will run it for this host. But I can run the same template, job template for both of the hosts, and one is getting installed from the latest repository from the nightlies, and one is getting installed from the stable version. So that's quite neat. Takes some time. We can. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to go there. we installed Smart Proxy through Ansible. Any questions? Something you missed, or? No. Well, I have installed the the Smart Proxy, but my presentation is not as short. What you can do, a part of that, you can run the Ansible command, which is basic. We have seen most of the options, but let's take a closer look. We have the basic option, which is kind of dummy. It runs SSL command through Ansible, which is not really useful. Right, we have the input command, which is getting run through SSH. It's quite important if you are about to realize how this all works. So that's kind of hello world example. So you can run SSH command through Ansible to see if everything works. But apart of that, why would you install Ansible to run SSH? Then you can run any playbook, which again, you just input the playbook, and anytime you are starting with the hosts all in Foreman, because this playbook gets rendered with the inventory of the exactly one host. So you don't need to worry about the hosts, because it always runs against one host. But this is meant to be defined there, but you can save some typing in this way. If you would run it, you could ask for the playbook, which is not. Okay. Right. Roles. And you can use the search engine in here. Right. And run this for 2 hosts. Okay. Quite simple. You can run it, but I realized I did manage to have a typo there, but right. Okay, we can see that the hosts are notifying us about the success one by one. Let's take a look under the hood a bit, shall we? So how this all works, or how this works in 1.23 version of Foreman and Ansible. You have the Ansible playbook implementation, which runs Ansible playbook for each host. So we are generating the playbooks for each host. We are generating the requests for each host to the Foreman proxy and telling the Foreman proxy, okay, here is the playbook, run it against this host. Foreman proxy creates background task for each host, and it runs the playbook in that task. But if you are about to do that for 1,000 hosts, it's not quite nice way, right? So what we did, we introduced batches. So the hosts get stacked in batches and get handed over to the smart proxy in those batches. That saves the post requests to the smart proxy, but we still have number of hosts times Ansible playbook running on the smart proxy approximately at the same time, which is not really convenient, and it can create heavy load, pretty heavy load. If we have over 1,000 hosts, it's basically no-go. Well, then the Ansible team introduced Ansible Runner, which is exactly for this. It can scale those runs. So we can still run one playbook against one host, but do it in batches through Ansible Runner. So in 1.23, we decided to, we won't see this already because I'm running the development latest. But we decided to make the runner option as a default. And in 1.24, we are going only runner. So now you have the runner package as a dependency on Ansible. So if you are installing Ansible on Smart Proxy, it will install through installer. It will install the Ansible runner as well, and it saves a lot of load, and it makes the Ansible scalable to the at least acceptable level. It still won't scale as good as if you would use Ansible directly, but hey, you have the Foreman inventory, and you can play with the playbooks. You can do whatever you want there, right? So that's kind of acceptable, I guess. Okay. That's how it works under the hood. And any questions? No? Okay. But we are Foreman, and we are used to Puppet configuration, right? And Puppet notifies us every amount of minutes from every agent, from every node. And we don't get that with Ansible by default. So we need to configure this for ourselves. We have the notion of the report timeout as well, but it wouldn't get automatically refreshed. So what we want to do is we don't have enough in here. So we want to run job And we want to assign roles. Okay, that's the one I don't have here, but let's say we will install the Foreman proxy. You want this to be simple playbook, so something that would just check the compliance basic settings, I guess, because it runs every hour for every host. So you want to get simple. In here, we will just match all the hosts. And we will schedule recurring execution. So we want to run at 5:05 every hour. Yeah. All right. 05 every hour. And this will check in the host. It will run the Ansible playbook against all the hosts. If you have a lot of hosts, you can probably consider having this something like per host group, one task per host group, and you can imagine filter it through and to some reasonable categories of the hosts. And one you would set up to run at 0.5, one at 0.10, second and 0 at 15. And as that, the hosts are checking in, and you can see if they are still compliant and if they are still configured. What you have to take care of is the report timeout interval, because by default it's 30 minutes. So you want to have it a bit higher than is your recurring. If you are going hourly, you would like to have something like 70 minutes, because it takes a bit of time before the host check-in, so you don't want to have it for half a minute out of the sync. So, okay. So, it's pretty good idea to integrate Foreman with Ansible. But the integration is not, it's not primary use case yet of the Foreman, right? So there are glitches, and you may consider an alternative. The obvious alternative would be AWX, and if you are using Ansible heavily, you will want to do that. But AWX is not great with inventory. So what you can do, you can use Foreman as an inventory for AWX, and you can gather your hosts from Foreman. And there is an old inventory which got a bit slow if you are reaching over 1,000 hosts. So there is new implementation. I will talk about it a bit later. And what's second use case integration with AWX is you can run some callback from after the host is built, callback of the AWX. I didn't want to go with installing the AWX, but you got on the templates in AWX, you can enable the provisioning callback, and it will get you a key, which you will copy over to provisioning template. And this template would get called from Foreman on every host build, so you can kick the default configuration from Foreman. And actually it will, if you schedule the runs of Ansible in AWX, it will still report facts to Foreman, so you will have the hosts in sync in Foreman as well. So that's quite nice alternative if you want to go to higher scales. What are the newest changes in the plugin and in the Ansible world? As you may know, the Ansible is hype now, so we are trying to keep the pace with the world, and we are investing in the Ansible integration heavily. So we have the runner implementation I were mentioning, because we can finally scale at least to thousands of hosts. It's still not as high as the AWX, but hey, it's usable already. There is the new inventory script, which goes through a report template, which is new feature. I don't know. Are you familiar with report templates? No. Okay, it's quite a cool feature that you can render whatever data from your Foreman, and you can schedule those and send those to your email. But in this case, you will do it on demand from the AWX, probably AWX. You can do it from wherever, but it's meant to be integration with AWX, and it happens to be quite fast, and it's already scalable as well to over thousands of hosts. You can see this in master yet, because the 124 is not out yet, so it's not there. But there is all you need to do is to call the Ansible inventory schedule from the AWX, and that's it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It should be everything you need, so I'm not going to post the pull request, but if you are interested, it's Foreman Ansible API for Ansible inventory. Not my work. I'm just. And last change, which probably you are going to notice if you use Ansible or remote execution, for that matter, is Dynflow, which is processing engine, which is scheduling the task in Foreman and running the background jobs on Smart Proxy and Foreman, is going to switch to the Sidekick. So that means we are going to run on Redis, not in memory as of now. That should be more stable deployment and happens to be a little bit faster in the testing environments. We will see how about the production. But all that means you will need Redis as well on the Foreman side. So just an head-ups. Okay. That's it from me. Now, if you have any questions or you want me to break some hosts.
Questions? Comments?
Hi. Well, one question I have is that or one thing what is annoying in AWX is that you cannot see like the insides of like variables which are from the roles like provided. You always need to have a look in your GitHub or somewhere else. So it would be really cool to see Foreman integrate the variables a little bit better instead of like having a whole list of variables, which is quite useful right now. But like if you assign a role to some host, like in Puppet, I guess it is like those smart variables, which are then shown that you can override them. It would be great to have something like this for Ansible too.
Thanks for the question, the idea. It's great, and it's actually something we are already aware of and working on that. So it's in progress. I don't know if we hit 125, but hopefully we will. It was meant to be in 124, but hopefully it will get in 125.
All right, thanks.
So you should see that soon.
I love this stuff. So, any more questions? Okay, thank you, Ondrej.